Hello and welcome to Flory Models Friday catch-up show. Here we are with you on the 17th of June 2022. Another incredibly hot, scorching day here in the UK. Apparently going to hit around about 30 to 34, depending where you are. And then it's going to rain. So back to modelling and everything else. Right, really busy week this week. I know every week's a busy week, but this one is one of those ones where it's involved lots of building. And obviously that's the bit I love. So as you can see, we did quite a bit on the Jaguar. There's still more of this one actually to come over the next couple of, next week it will be finished off. I was going to do it today, but it's really, really hot. And I think the weathering's going to dry a little bit too quickly. Plus the fact I don't want to get stuck in here under the studio lights all afternoon, sweating, when we can do this probably next week when it's a little bit cooler. But as you can see, she's looking very much the part. This is the old Italeri kit, which we're doing our look back and going through, which you guys seem to be loving. And again, she's all on. Happy with the decals. I really thought they were going to be a problem, but actually very much looking the part now. So we'll be catching back up with this one next week, where we'll be finishing it off and we can sort of do an end thoughts, which, to be honest, I think I'm a better modelling now than I was then. So there's a bit of a no-brainer for you. Right, next thing is obviously we've started work on the Voodoo. So this is one of those kits which has been, on my bucket list, I suppose, to do for a long time. I'm a massive fan of the F101. I think it's a great looking aircraft. And again, the only options out there was the old monogram kit, which I built before, or we were looking at the Kitty Hawk one. And when I did the review of it, it really put me off, purely because it's so modular and it was overcomplicated type kit. And I thought, do you know what? I think you can do quite a lot with the old one. So anyway, as you might know, we did a bit of a look back at old monogram kits. We've got a series on about vintage kits at the moment. And some of you guys have sent various ones. Mikey sent me one, Brett sent me one, and all the rest of it. So I thought, do you know what? I think we're going to put it together, but we're going to try and do it exactly the same as obviously we would have done it back in the day. So we're not going to rescribe it. We're not going to go down the aftermarket, route with photo etch and all the rest of it. We are literally going to build it out of the box. And so far, I have to say, you can see we've got some of the assemblies literally all together. It's gone in really well. Like this under wing section, we've gone along. I put a little bit of paint on it to seam check it and all the rest of it. We've added the rescribe lines in. We've gone for the seamless look. So we've got the seamless ones just down in there. We've got the other intakes, which are all seamless now as well. With some of the nozzles, they're a little bit finicky on the inside. And again, we've gone around and we've taken care of those. So it's actually looking really, really nice. And again, the way that it goes together, it's a good way. There's no reason why you should change this out. So it's got a different nose, because obviously they do the recon version of this kit as well. And it has that little divot on the nose and all the rest of it. But generally, putting this together in one before you add all the other parts is really good. Again, the way that the seam line fits down in here, you can take your time and make sure that's really nice. The way the tail is, the clamshell and all the parts, it works very, very nicely. We did some test fitting with the nose, and the nose fits on here. Again, it's got a tiny little bit down here, which I want to explain on the video. So it's probably not going to go exactly as I would have wanted. But generally, the fit is absolutely fantastic. So that's really nice as well. There's no spread issues or anything else like that. And I suppose the big thing is the cockpit, which we've done by hand, which is the first time we've done a hand cockpit for, well, ever. I can't remember the last time I actually got in totally and did a 48 scale cockpit like this. But again, simple dry brushing, simple paint job, simple dry brushing, and then we picked out a few little bits and pieces with Posca pens, and then we did a little bit of dry brushing for the belts and added the red bits, and that is literally it. And it's turned out really well. None of this is glued yet, as you can probably tell. But again, it's one of those ones where the cockpit detail is all here. But again, it's interesting how all of this goes together. So for instance, this cockpit, it comes underneath and goes in once you're in here like this, which is a really weird way of doing it. And then once that's sorted out, the wing section, and again, this was one of those ones where I was thinking, do you know what, is this ever going to work? What's the seam lines going to be like and all the rest of it? And again, you've got big gaps, but say you put a little bit of pressure and they are fine. They're actually seamless. So I think by the time you put a little bit of pressure on there, they'll be absolutely great. So I can't imagine it being too much for problems. But again, the way that the kit was designed, in the early 70s, this is one of those ones where it works. So why would companies sometimes try and better a kit than it works well? For instance, when we did all the work underneath here, it follows natural panel lines. So the insert piece goes in and it works alongside with the ailerons and things like that. So it's a natural panel line. And sometimes I wonder why manufacturers put joins and seams where they do. When if you look at other manufacturers like Bandai especially, and you look at when they're working with armor, they tend to take more care about following a panel line or a seam or a join, so you've got it naturally there anyway, so it's sort of hiding in plain sight, so that's quite a nice touch with it. But generally it's gone in really well. We've already spoken about some of this, and obviously we'll look at it a bit later, and part one of that is up with you right now. But that's really what I've been working on this week, and say thoroughly enjoyed it. Anyway, it all did start on Monday. Matt was working with the Wimic. So we got the next part of his Wimic build went up, and again, beautiful work on this. Not only is the weathering looking absolutely stunning on this one, but some of the techniques Matt's showing as well. So he's showing about doing chipping and adding all tiny bits of details into this one. He's got the Milan to go on. We've got the crew figures to go on with this one as well. See the chipping down the back. So he explains weathering and chipping and all the bits and pieces on that particular build all the way through. And again, it's a nice sort of step-by-step. Shot of his hand, hold on, he will move, honest, he's flicking things about probably, but again you can see nice clear step by step exactly how he goes about doing all his weathering, his bits and pieces down in there. So if you want to catch up with that one, obviously you can do, just pop over, hit the link, and it will take you straight to that one. On Tuesday, Matt and me were back again, and we were discussing all things, well, kits really. We were talking about this overcomplicated kit business and things like that. So we were literally just going through the motions of sort of, you know, why some kits seem to be overcomplicated. Is it affecting the price? Is it unnecessary pushing the price up? And is there unnecessary complications now in model making, when obviously with things like slide molding and stuff like that, it seems to be getting simpler in some areas but in others. So it's a really good discussion, and we were talking about all things like that right the way through. Obviously the guys, you joined in live with us as well. Pleasure to have you on board as always. Wednesday was obviously the PM show, so we were talking all things with everything going on in the PM store. We've got the Ashima Airwolves back in, which I always get asked about all the time. People say about, oh, could you get them in? And they are like hen's teeth. We managed to get a limited amount in, I think about a dozen, and that was it. And I know we've sold pretty much all of them. I think there's only one or two left. There might not even by the time of doing this be any of these kits left. I built this one about 12 years ago when it first became available in the UK. We got them in about 5 years ago now at the PM store, and this is the first time we've been able to get them in again. But I'm just pointing out how well Airwolf is just sort of the best helicopter in the world. And it was my childhood, so we were going through the motions of that. But obviously we're talking all things PM, and obviously at the end of the show we'll have a look around with that one as well. Matt was obviously really busy on over there as well, so we got one here, and Matt's talking about on Thursday his little vlog that he does now, and he's finished off obviously the front end of the 32nd Lancaster. So this is the nose kit available. He's been working on for a few months now, and it's looking absolutely stunning, or it will be when he paints it correctly in the rear part of the cockpit. But no, absolutely fantastic job on that one. And he was talking about all his builds and things he's been up recently. We were talking all things decals and bleaching out decals on his secret build that he's been working on, which is down in here. So this is the Micromere, if I remember rightly. I can't remember whose it was now. Oh no, it's the KP. So this is the Yak 23. And again, I think it's been reboxed now and various things, but this is a pretty old kit, as you know, going through it. And Matt was basically given an inbox review, one of the first reviews he's done. So if you want to go off and have a look at that one is up on the Thursday show, just like that. So plenty going on this week right the way through. And that brings us bang up to today, where obviously part one of the Voodoo build has gone up. And as I said before, this particular kit, we're just really looking at old techniques and how we can still use them in today. Because yeah, okay, we could literally go off now and rescribe the Voodoo, and there's not that many panel lines, and it's quite easy jobs to rescribe it as well. But we're going to leave them in and go through. But we were looking at some of obviously the problems you can have with older kits, like big old sprue tab attachment points. So it's easier to take them off with a razor than it is actually with a pair of cutters, because a pair of cutters won't fit and you probably chew it up trying to do it. So little techniques like that. And again, removing some of the ejector pins out of this one, getting that wing nice and seamless right the way through, doing the intakes, making them seamless seamless as well, which is a nice quick job. And then obviously talking about where the seam lines are in here, you need to fill and then clean up. And because you don't want to destroy the raised details, scrape cleaning is absolutely a must on this one. You can do fantastic. But when you do have to replace them, how do you go about replacing it? One of my favorite ways is to use a blunt knife. And that way you get that nice V that you can fill in and go through. And again, once you've taken them out and put the lines back in, as you can see, it's really nice. And about doing them on curved surfaces. So in this one, we got a mixture of recessed and raised details on the fuel tanks, about putting all of those in. So they're all in there. And then again, we were talking about actually with the cockpit on this one as we make our way through. And it's a great kit, thoroughly enjoy it. There's something about going back and doing the older kits because they're not as complicated. And one of the things we were talking about on the Tuesday show with me and Matt is what I call flow. And it's nice that you're working on a model that's got a real nice progression. All the time you're moving along with it. Other times you get into kits, and let's face it, I've worked on some real hangers that have tested my durability, shall we say, and patience, you know, and you can get bogged down in too much detail. And I was saying, there's nothing wrong with detail, don't get me wrong. We've been crying out for detail kits for many years, and most brand new AAA title kits now, you don't really need aftermarket. You can get away with not using anything. Whereas before with these kits, people were always crying out for more detail, and then obviously the resin came along and photo etch, and we were using those. Now, I think in most cases that's superseded from what injection molding can do. So I know it's just one of those natural progressions. The trouble is, though, the complexities of doing some parts means that you might be having a cockpit with 30 or 40 parts into it. You might have wheel wells made up of 20 parts, whereas traditionally they were made up of 3 or 4 parts tops, and you could get them together and you're moving on. Classic example is this build here. To get to this stage is probably only around about 5 hours work, whereas obviously we've worked on other things. Recently we just finished the F-15 Strike Eagle, the brand new one by Great Wall Hobbies, and that's a long old plough through because purely it's got line, and that's quite a simple kit, let alone things like the Hornet that's in front of me, which has problems, and then you've got to fix it all on the fly, and that takes a long time. But sometimes you can work on other things like fully detailed armor kits with all the interior. You can get so bogged down in all the nitty gritty of getting those areas done that it feels like you're not getting anywhere. And you come down day after day or evening after evening, you know, and maybe you only get an hour at the bench, maybe you get like a couple of hours at the weekend, but it makes builds really long. And sometimes you get guys, and we see them all the time on the forum, and they get stall projects and they come back to them, and then it goes back on the shelf of doom, and then it comes back out. But it's nice to have a kit that just flows, and that's what I like about the monogram sort of Century Series kits, as we call them. And I like the Hasegawa old school kits now, things like that, because they just flow together. It doesn't take long to put them together. You can get on then and take care of the seam lines and all the bits and pieces you need to, and then get it into paint, and then obviously along through the weathering process. So that's what I like about those kits. I wasn't dissing complicated kits, because sometimes you need it to get that level of detail in. But if that level of detail is not being seen, it's not really a kit for me. I prefer the ones that flow quite naturally. As you know, I usually give myself a month start to finish on any project. So it doesn't matter if it's a 32nd, a 24th scale, or a 48 scale, something else like that. It's usually a month to get them done and make my way through. But this one I'm really enjoying. As I say, I got a couple of hours on it on Wednesday. I got a few hours on it again yesterday, and it's just coming together really nicely. This thing is literally ready to have the actual intakes fitted onto this one. We get the wing system onto it. We'll get that glued up, get the nose onto it. And already you've got basically a built aircraft. Whereas, say, other kits, that's a lot further down the line, shall we say. But yeah, you can catch up with that one right now. It should be a really interesting one. And as I said, the Jaguar, I'll get going, obviously, with this one. Next week, we'll get the weathering onto it. And obviously, we'll be looking about how old school weathering. So it's old school clay wash. That was the first ever formula we did. Nothing like the new one. So it's very gritty and patchy and all the rest of it. So anyway, we're going to be doing oils on this one. We'll obviously get it on its gear, sort it all out, make it all really nice for the final reveal. But that's a great kit as well. Really enjoying these sort of simplified kits, if you know what I mean. Anyway, obviously, there's a couple of things to talk about in the forum. First of all is we are getting very close now to finishing the group builds. Again, so when you're in, obviously, working through the group builds, keep an eye on the end date. Because obviously this one here, you've literally just got under 2 weeks now to get the 70s group build finished as well. So we've got 144 entries on that one. We've got 69 of them finished. So if you have got anything, you know, you're thinking, well, it's going to take me a few weeks yet, it's time to push on with those to make sure you make the deadline at the end as well. And again, obviously we've got a little bit of time as well for the Nordic one. That one's not going to finish for a good couple of months yet. So that's going to finish at the end of August if you're going on with there. Obviously, I know a lot of people are excited about the next group build that's coming up, which is basically our scratch building or Greeblies build. So that's going to be actually really nice to be working on stuff and then cutting up models and joining things and scratch building and all the rest of it that goes with it. So that should be a lot of fun in there. The other thing I will mention as well, I'm finding when I go into the gallery area on the forum and things like that, I'm finding a lot of question areas. Don't forget, if you're putting stuff in the gallery, so in the air gallery down in here or any of the galleries down in here, make sure it's your final reveals. It's not a place for questions, guys, because otherwise what happens is it sort of screws up everything, especially when I come to do the reveal videos at the end of the show on a Friday. So just if you've got conversation ones, either drop them into general chat areas or put them in the correct areas. Would be absolutely fantastic if you do that, because otherwise it kills out the forums really. So yeah, make sure they're all in the right areas. If you're not too sure, shoot us a message and I'll put you in the right direction for these things. But it is pretty straightforward and nice down onto all of these down in. But again, you get all of those. Don't forget, if you are looking members for the video builds and live shows, don't forget they're all in here. All your video builds are ones that are down in here now, so they're in. So the Jaguar one, because it's a bit more of a special, this one is down in here. So we've got the videos for all of those are down in there as well. So if you want to catch up with those, you can do. And obviously if you're looking for Max Wimmick, things like that, that's down in here as well. Again, with all the parts of it are all down in these areas. So if you're ever wondering where it is, you can find it just in there. Okay, so pretty straightforward. Just keep an eye on your end dates and make sure you get your post in the right position as well. The other quick thing to say, and I know I say it a lot, and this will be the last time I say it, sometimes I get questions is, why wasn't my photo shown of my completed build at the end of this show with various things? Don't forget, if it goes up on a week where we're not doing a particular show for whatever reason, either I'm away or it's a bank holiday or whatever it's been recently, then the chances are if there's a load on that week commencing, it won't go through, because obviously we tend to keep it to around about 20 or 30 end ones at the end of each Friday show. So unfortunately, if you were like the week before, it might not automatically carry through if there's been a lot on that week. That's why. The other one as well is that some of you have photos and you're hosting them yourself off the site, and then I can't get them because it won't allow me to do it. And don't forget, I usually sit down around about 10 o'clock on a Friday morning and do the thing. If I then got to email you to get it, if you don't come back to me sort of there and then, it won't be in that show. And then obviously it falls back to a week and everything else. So just make sure your photos, end photos and reveal photos are available to download. Because if I can't download them, I can't use them. So some of you have said to me, why haven't you shown my photos? It's because it's locked. You've got them on Flickr and it's got, I haven't got the authority to tear your photos from it and stuff like that. So again, that's one reason why they're not making it up as well. It's nothing personal. It's not that your work's not good enough, because everybody's work's good enough to say. If it goes in the gallery, it goes in the end show. It's as simple as that. So again, same thing for the reveal photos for the SIGs and group builds. Just make sure they are available to be downloaded so I can download them. We can put them in the editing software and make the montage video at the end. But again, it's not a personal thing. It's just I can't do it. Right. Okay. Last up, we've got down in here, obviously on the PM show. The PM show, the PM store even. Various things going on there. So this week for members, don't forget, if you got your pre-orders in, a lot of those have come in this week and are due in next week, like obviously the ones along here. So, and now they are available out for sale at full price as well. So obviously we've got the Camel comic as well in those gorgeous markings as well from Edard, and also we got the next part of the Spitfire story. So this is the dual combo set down in there, and again the Desert Babes are back in as we spoke about on Thursday, so forth and so on. So don't forget, if you have been sent an invoice, please pay quickly so we can get your order out straight away, otherwise it tends to get lost in the system. All right, so make sure if your family's got hold of you and there is a problem, you can't make payment or you need a delay, please let us know. At least we know then. All right, anyway, so that's your new arrivals. We spoke about these on Thursday, but you can see these ones down in here. Also, the specials area has been updated, as we said it would be today. We've got some nice stuff in here. So we've got the Hobby Boss CH47D. So this is the D version in 48 scale as well from Hobby Boss. And the other thing as well, we've got the Coyote. The Hobby Boss 35th scale Coyote as well, which is new release as well. So both of those are in, as well as a couple of other things as well. We've got the Hobby Boss Storch. as well in 35th scale. We've got the Hellcat by AFV. The Hunter is back in as well, so if you want to grab yourself a Hunter, the Saber's in. A beautiful kit is that Hasegawa. If you're into 72nd scale and you want an F-35B, definitely get it. It is an amazing kit. I built that one. And obviously we've got the Tiger Moths in and all the other bits down here in the special. So we've got some really nice stuff. We've got the shuttles back in. We've got the PBRs as well. They're in, and some other nice bits and pieces down in here. So if you fancy of any of the stuff, and we've still got Airwolves available. So if you want to get an Airwolf a little bit cheaper, there you go, £8 off. You can grab that one there as well. All right. So some good deals down in here. That's the Jaguar I'm actually working on as well. And some of obviously our damaged bot sections. That's still down in there as well. So if you want to get any of those bits and pieces, and also check out the show on Thursday for new tools and various things we've had in as well. So there's lots of stuff going on. The last of the 25% stuff is up here as well. It's really getting thin on the ground now. So if you see any of these items, this is our end of lines. So if you want to grab any of these, they're all 25% off as well, right the way through. So as you can see, we've got a fair few of those Dragon bits and pieces still left, but to be honest, it's going down a lot now. That is literally the last of everything we've got. So if you see it, grab it. We can get them in, but obviously it will be at full retail and not 25% off if you do want to get it a little bit later on. And that was it for this week. Really busy. I must admit, it's one of those weeks where I've done a load of building, which I absolutely love. We really got on with the Jaguar, which is nice. And again, obviously getting on with the Voodoo. I'm really, really enjoying it, which is nice. The only thing is today it's absolutely sweltering out there. It's showing a balmy 30 degrees and it's getting warm in here with the studio lights. So chances are I'm going to give up now and go off and do editing and stuff, because it's a lot cooler doing that than it is being under the studio lights. Hopefully you guys get a load of modelling done this weekend as well. So it'd be absolutely lovely. And obviously if you do need anything, you get it from the PM store. As always on a Friday, I'm going to leave you with your great work from the gallery. So till Monday, everybody, happy modelling. Take care.
I was not ready to falling like I'm wasted.